Hi, welcome back to our online preparation course for the TOEFL test. In this module, we are going to continue getting prepared for the grammar section of the test. This time, we are going to be focusing on pronouns. Okay? As we said in the video related to parts of speech, a pronoun is a word used in place of a noun. Okay? So, we are going to be focusing on different kinds of pronouns. Subject and object pronouns, possessive adjectives and possessive pronouns, and pronoun agreement. So, when you are ready, let's start. So, on your screen, you have a chart, okay? The chart shows the different pronouns that exist, okay? If you notice, we have subject pronouns and object pronouns, okay? We have possessive adjectives and possessive pronouns, and we have reflexive pronouns, okay? So, it is important that before taking the test, you study these pronouns, okay? And that you learn how they are used. Okay, so let's start with subject and object pronouns. If you notice, you have the sentence, Sally gave the book to John. Don't forget that a pronoun replaces a noun. So here in this sentence, we have three nouns, Sally, the book, and John. Okay, so we are going to use pronouns in order to replace these nouns. So Sally is the subject, the book is one of the objects, and John is another object. Okay, so how do pronouns replace nouns? Okay, on your right, you have the subject and the object pronouns. Okay, so Sally is replaced by she. Why? Because Sally is the subject. So we need a subject pronoun. Okay, Sally, she. Then the book is replaced by it. Why by it? Because the book is an object. Okay, so you need to use an object pronoun. And John is replaced by him. Okay, notice that it is not replaced by he because John is not a subject. John is an object. So it needs to be replaced by an object pronoun. So if we replace all the nouns with pronouns, the sentence would be, she gave it to him. So if you notice, we use subject pronouns to replace the subject of the sentence, and we use object pronouns to replace the objects. Okay? Okay, try to do this one on your own. You have him and the girl are going shopping. There is a mistake in this sentence. The gift was intended for you and I. There is a mistake in the sentence. Okay? So, if you notice, the way that we have to correct this sentence is by crossing out him, because him is not a subject and we need a subject. Okay? So, the correction would be, he and the girl are going shopping. Okay? On the second one, the one that we have to cross out is I, because it is not a subject, it is an object. So we need to replace it with an object pronoun. For example, here is the answer. The gift was intended for you and me. Okay? So as I said previously, it is important that you learn the pronouns and its under usage. Let's continue with possessive adjectives and possessive pronouns. Okay, if you notice, you have they lent me their book. Okay, they is the subject, Me is one of the objects, and their book is another object. And if you notice, you have possession, their book. That's why they are using a possessive adjective, their, right? They are telling you that the book is theirs. So their is a possessive adjective. So how can we replace their book with a possessive pronoun? By saying they lent me theirs. Okay? So both sentences show possession. The only difference is that in the first one, you have a possessive adjective. And in the second one, you have a possessive pronoun. What is the characteristic of possessive adjectives? They always need a noun in front of them. And if you notice, the possessive pronouns do not need nouns in front of them. Okay? So try to correct these sentences. Each morning they read their newspapers. And could you give me your? Okay, so try to identify what the problem is. Okay, so in the first case, the problem is theirs. Remember, when you have a possessive adjective, you have a noun in front of it. When you have a possessive pronoun, you don't have an adjective after it. Okay, so here, the problem is theirs. Why? Because it should be each morning they read their newspapers. Why? Because you need a possessive adjective because you have a noun in front of it. In the second case, could you give me your? Okay, the problem is your. It should be, could you give me yours? Why? Because remember, when you have a possessive pronoun, you don't have a noun after it. Okay? Let's see pronoun agreement. Just as it happened with articles, right, in the previous module, you really need to pay attention to the agreement, okay? So we have, the boys will cause trouble if you let him. Everyone must give their name. Okay, so these two sentences have also mistakes. Take a moment and try to correct the mistakes. In the first case, the boys will cause trouble if you let him. The problem is that there is no agreement. If you notice, you are using boys, that is plural, that is they, and then at the end you are using him, that is singular, is he, right? So how can we correct this? By saying the boys will cause trouble if you let them. Doing this, there is agreement between the boys and them. In the second sentence, everyone must give their name. There is also an agreement problem. Why? Because everyone and their do not agree. So what should we do? Okay, we have to replace the their by his or by his or her. So, like this, there is agreement. So remember, it is very important that you take into consideration pronoun agreement. Okay, let's do this sentence together. Although Alexander liked his new apartment very much, he found it somewhat noisy. Take a minute in order to identify what the mistake is and try to correct it. Okay, so the problem is letter A. Why? Because the problem is that the possessive adjective is incorrect. They are using a possessive pronoun, right? They are using an object pronoun, right? Not a possessive one, an object pronoun. Okay? So, it cannot be him, right? It is his. Why? Because it is showing possession. Although Alexander liked his new apartment, right? You need a possessive adjective because you have a noun in front of it. And besides, you need to show possession. Okay? So now it is your turn. Go back to the model, do the exercises, and bye-bye.